Once upon a time, not so long ago, there was a little girl, and her name was Emily. And she read a blog. There it is. It was rather a usual blog because it didn't write anything. You see, everything in that blog's page was a link that somebody had once posted and Emily had found and mailed on to Bouncy. Emily's cat, Bouncy. The most important, the most beautiful, the most magical, saggy old internet troll in the whole wide world. Well now, one day Emily found a link, and she brought it back to the blog, and she mailed it to Bouncy, who was asleep in his pants as usual. But then Emily said some magic words. Bouncy, dear Bouncy, old fat furry noncy, wake up and look at this link that I bring. Wake up, be bright, spout venom and shite. Bouncy, oh hear what I sing.
What's that, Emily? You've given me some links to stuff about Kinect, some ice cream, something that was shown on the television, and some other stuff that I haven't written down because I'm not very prepared. Oh, how delightful. Welcome to Lolocaust in Your Lug Holes episode 1, but before we kick off this evening, here comes a health warning.
Manufacturer's warning. Prolonged exposure to the Lolocaust may cause your top hat to be propelled into lower orbit, your dandy monocle to be blasted several meters into the opposite wall.
Oh, I seem to have lost it. But anyway, the warning is this, that you've been warned. If you didn't listen to the warning or heed the warning, then I can't accept responsibility for you not listening to the warning. So yes, good evening. It is Wednesday. It is 9 o'clock. Well, it's 9:03 now. It's the 18th of April. We are live, as you can tell, because I've just lost a bit of audio that I thought I was playing because I was trying to prep something else and got it wrong. But this is Lolocaust in Your Lug Holes. I am, of course, your host, Bouncybhall, and here's a little intro that somebody has prepared for me.
Bouncybhall. He's done an internet all by himself.
So there you go. Yes, I've done an internet all by myself. And if as anybody's ever tried to do an internet all by themselves, they will know that it takes a lot of planning and a step sometimes just to help you get to the internet. And then when you try to do the internet, that stream is not always, it's not always in the right direction. Sometimes some of the internet ends up on the bathroom floor, and that's not where we want the internet. So I will contain the internet within this audio facility this evening, and we will get started straight away on the first subject that Emily has left for me, which is Xbox Kinect. Xbox Kinect launched last year, been about a year old now, and still derided and hated by gamers. Core gamers, snobby core gamers don't like Kinect. I love Kinect. I think it's brilliant, and I'll tell you why I think it's brilliant. It's a system that allows the whole family to make best use of the Xbox console while giving features that everybody can use. So let's not take a big strong look at the catalogue of games at the moment, because it's essentially a year old. Any kind of system needs a bit of time to warm up, and some of the games that have been coming out for the Xbox Kinect have been pretty atrocious, but it's a learning curve. It's a learning curve for a lot of people, and I think we need to kind of remember that. So when Sega put out Rise of Nightmares and everybody said the controls are terrible, you try and come up with a control system that works in that environment and see how easy it is. The best games seem to be aimed at children. And the reason for that is often the controls are simplified. It's not because the games themselves only work for children, but it's when a developer starts to think a bit simpler, then things start to work better. Now, best example of this is Double Fine's Happy Action Theatre, possibly the pinnacle of Kinect's kind of output at this moment in time. The reason being, it doesn't try and recognise individual fingers. It doesn't try and recognise the fact of whether your eyebrows are moving or your jaw's moving or anything like that. All it tries to do is recognise individual shapes. So you can have 6 people rolling around in the floor on fire, doing Terminator impressions or throwing fireballs or throwing snowballs or chasing pigeons, and it will recognise everybody, and it will give you an achievement for 6 of you as well, which is nice. The reason it works so well is it just simplifies everything right down. It's a collection of mini games, micro games. It's like a WarioWare for Kinect. It's a downloadable game. Everybody with a Kinect should get it. Even if you haven't got children, it's worth downloading it, getting some children in your house. You know, most people live near a school, a trail of breadcrumbs or the offer of money, something like that. Throw it out there, get the kids in, get them, have a good play with them on the carpet. Yeah, that's obviously not like that, you dirty bastards. Anyway, so that's the best game. Other games that are great, Haunt, which had input from Tim Schafer. I think he did the voice of the kind of the antagonisty picture frame ghost man thing in the game. It's essentially a haunted house ride that you walk around in. Again, aimed squarely at kids, but has some great moments in it. So, yeah, that's another one highly recommended. Dancing games, everybody says, oh, you know, why buy Star Wars Kinect for a dance section when you could buy Dance Central? I say don't buy Dance Central at all. Go for Just Dance 3. Many people ignore it. It came out on the Wii for 2 iterations. Nothing special there. It is. There's something very special with Just Dance, is it can recognise a lot of people in not too big a space. And we've had it here. I have an average size front room. I'm pretty poor. I'm talking into a microphone that came with Guitar Hero World Tour. So obviously I'm not talking professionally here. 4 of us, 2 adults, 2 children, dancing around, moving behind each other and around each other. It works. The way it works, apparently, is something to do with shrinking people down so that they're narrow and looks for that shape so it can fit more people in. And it works. And it works brilliantly well. So, yeah, and going back to Star Wars, actually, the Kinect Star Wars game that came out last week, straight to number 1 in the charts. Everybody said, terrible game, only got to number 1 because it's Star Wars. That might be true. But I would say not that terrible a game, actually. The main story mode, it's not great for me personally. I'm classed as a core gamer, but I dabble. I dabble in casual. And in terms of what do I get from the game, I've loved playing the dancing games. I've loved playing the Rancor. I've loved the pod racing. There's a lot in there that's actually done very, very well, and it's not an expensive game at all. My children have been playing through the main story mode, absolutely adoring it. Absolutely adoring every single second of it, and that's all that matters. So, moving on to kind of now Kinect in other games. So, the kind of the added functionality. Skyrim's getting it. Mass Effect had it. Ghost Recon's having it. Those features, along with control of Media Center and stuff like that, it really sells the system. And had it been built in and not cost an extra £100, I don't think anybody would complain. I think it's much like a lot of the apps. They're free. You use them or you don't, and people don't seem to have an issue with that. So, yeah, so there you go. Microsoft Kinect. Not as bad as everybody says. It is a bit on the expensive side, but actually there's some real good stuff out there. And it kind of angers me when people out there just shit all over it. You know, Child of Eden is an incredible game. You could pick it up for about £5, and you don't even have to have Kinect to play it. If you've got weak arms, if you're a girly armed gamer, you can play it with a control pad. You know, it's hard. It's a tough game, but it's worth getting. Disneyland Adventures, kids game maybe, really, really well implemented Kinect functionality. So yeah, we're going on there now. We're going in there now. We're getting into the point where the games are coming into their own. The developers have got the hang of it. And I think we've got an exciting time with Kinect coming up in the next kind of couple of years. So there you go. Stop your bloody moaning and let's carry on. Now, next, last night I was listening to our friends at the Gamescast who were doing a nice little plug for us, but decided that in their infinite wisdom they would try and not just play the advert, but talk a bit, and then they happen to say this.
You can't really describe the site, can you guys? Really?
You can't really describe Bouncybhall either, can you?
No, that's very true. And we say that with love, because he's actually pretty damn awesome. So
He is.
we love what he's doing. We're really pleased he's come onto Spreaker. So please make sure you're going to have a listen.
Just a word of advice for people who do play with him online. Do not play any games that involve cameras.
Yes, and we'll explain that one another day when everyone's well past the water.
Well, actually,
like midnight.
let's put the call out now. Let's ask Bouncy to explain that on his next programme.
Yeah, there you go. Right, Bouncy, your show is tomorrow night at 9 o'clock on Wednesday. You want to explain it? There's your challenge. Do you know what? Actually, that's not a challenge, because you'd probably just do it and wouldn't give a damn. Yeah. That's the worst bit. Oh, bless.
So now I'm just going to do it, not give a damn. Basically, what Paul was referring to there specifically, and this is not exclusive to, but specifically talking about Burnout Paradise for the Xbox, which is a game we've played to death. We've had evening after evening after evening of casual driving around a city with smashing into each other. And then they have this little thing where if you crash and you have an Xbox Live Vision camera, it doesn't work with Kinect though, angrily, Xbox Live Vision camera, it will take a photo of you if you're knocked out, and it will take a photo of you if you win races and things like that. And I figured, like you would, if it's going to take a picture of you, you owe it to do something that actually is worth looking at in that picture. So often you just see a bloke sat on a sofa with a tin in his hand, kind of going, oh, take it out again. And so I didn't think that was very good. So one night I put a dress on, sat there with a dress on. Another night, I dressed as a giant baby. I bought a nappy and a giant pin from a fancy dress shop. Massive dummy. Just sat there with my nips out, parked, waiting for people to take me out. It got to the point where people would stop taking me out in fear of seeing what would be on the camera. Would I have my testicles out in some taunting glare? I must say that was in a private match with just my friends. I wasn't in there publicly, showing the tackle off to the ladies. But, so what of it, Gamescast people? I'm not ashamed of my past, as a testicle-flashing giant baby on the internet. There you go. Challenge accepted, challenge completed. And now I'm going to play your advert. This is the same advert I played last week. It has a fault near the end. See if you can spot it.
Hi, this is Duncan from the new video games talk show, The Gamescast. Every Tuesday night at 9 PM, join myself, Paul and Phil live as we discuss the latest big stories. To listen to the show, just search for The Gamescast on Spreaker.com. Keep up to date via Twitter and Facebook, and you can find us on our website at thegamescast.com. Join us at 9 PM tomorrow night and have your say.
So there you go. There's their advert for the Gamescast. Wonderful show. It's not on tomorrow night. That's a show they recorded for an advert they recorded for a show that goes out on Monday night, and they haven't got round to doing a new one yet. So until they do, I'm going to keep playing that faulty one, and it will show up how slack and how tardy they are. They're useless bunch of lovely folks who do a lot to promote me. So, yes, thank you very much. That's the Gamescast. You can pick them up on Spreaker and iTunes and Twitter and Facebook and the website and stickers and all sorts. So, yeah, give them a listen. They're not half bad. Okay. Right, next up. I played this in the last show. We had a few people that didn't want to listen to the test shows. They wanted to wait until we started with episode 1. And I think that's fair. So what we've done is I've brought it back. This is two other website contributors. This is Scarred Star and Nerf Derma. They were caught in a game of Team Fortress 2 discussing the finer points of nature and animal loving.
The only animal to have sex for pleasure is humans and dolphins. Did you know that?
No, those monkeys do as well.
No, they masturbate. That's a bit different.
No. There's those monkeys that go around just doing it with anything, even like homosexual monkey. That's rubbish. Those monkeys do it as well.
Homosexual
Yeah, those monkeys that just rock about the place, shagging everything.
Okay, I've not tried them yet. Dolphins fucking love it.
Oh, dolphins do, yeah. But there's monkeys as well. It's not just humans and dolphins.
Do you know how many animals I had to have sex with to find that fact out?
I don't know. Seriously, there's a group of monkeys. I don't know what breed they are or whatever. But they literally just do everything. They do themselves, and they do other male monkeys, and they do female monkeys. They just don't give a fuck. They do everything. They're like the casual sex monkeys of the monkey world.
Surely that means they do give a fuck.
Now that guy at the end, I have no idea who he is, but I like to pretend in my head that that's Stephen Merchant, just trolling around in Team Fortress 2 because Ricky Gervais hasn't given him a new job yet. So yeah, so that's those two guys. They will be putting stuff in for other episodes in the near future, hopefully. I think they might even be listening in the background while playing Team Fortress right now. I don't know. If they are, hello, get some work done, you useless pair of shite. There will be another mention of them in the end credits of the episode, so do listen out for that. So yeah, the next thing on our subject, actually talking about Ricky Gervais, it fits quite nicely, is Derek, which was a comedy drama broadcast on Channel 4 last week, and actually took me completely by surprise. It was hyped up because of Ricky Gervais's use of Mong on Twitter over and over again. It was, oh, Mong, I'm using it in a non-offensive term, blah, 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 blah. Then he comes out and says, oh, I'm doing this programme. It's about a bloke called Derek who works in an old person's home. When you first start watching it, it's played for laughs, pretty much. Quack. Sorry, I've just been challenged to say quack live, which for you not listening live, that's not going to be very good. So there you go, quack, Steve, who's not even called Steve. I'll get on with what I'm doing. So Derek works this old folks' home. He's kind-hearted, gold-hearted, however hearted you want to describe him. But he does silly things. He will sit in his pudding and he'll get it all over his trousers. And it's like, oh, are you supposed to laugh at him? Are you laughing with him? Is his kind of honesty and generosity something to be endeared to? As the episode goes on, it becomes more a kind of look at how people react to the kind of ongoing issue of old people in the country and their care and their being looked after. And what confused me is 1 minute it seems like it's just a case of this is a comedy about an idiot who'll fall in a fish pond, and the next minute it's, well, actually, he's not the brightest bloke around, but he actually has a better idea of how to care for people than some of the people that are paid to do it, and he's got that kind of compassion that isn't there in other people. It was only about 25 minutes long. In those 25 minutes, I went from, why is this even being made? This is completely pointless. What are they trying to do here? Then I'm trying to hold back a tear or two. And then at the end of it, I'm thinking, well, yeah, that's something I want to see more of. And I hope it gets revisited. The only thing I think didn't work for it, and I suppose it was an obvious one really, is that Ricky Gervais should not have played Derek. Straight away, when he's looking at camera and he's pulling faces, it's Ricky Gervais pulling his Mong face. And you can't get away from that. Carl Pilkington with his silly wig as well, his hairpiece. Again, totally distracted from what it was. Kerry Godliman, stand-up comedian and actress, loved her for years and years. She's in it in a great role and possibly the finest actress in it out of everybody. But actually, it's well worth watching. You can catch it on 4OD. If you've got an Xbox, obviously you got the app for that. I think there's an app for it on the PlayStation 3 as well, but it's not as good as the Xbox One, so perhaps go online if you haven't got the choice. So there you go. So that's Derek discussed. What do you think? Feel free to let us know on the website or on our Twitter feed. And so what do you think? Now, remember, we are the Lolocaust, and there's something very important about that.
We are the Lolocaust. Be with us or be branded a Lolocaust denier.
Yeah, a Lolocaust denier. Not, as I read it the first time, say Lolocaust denier, thinking it was about Lolocaust tights, which I'd actually buy a pair of, because I do like to wear a pair of tights. I used to work in a factory. It was very cold, and my uncle recommended I wore tights under my overalls. I did it. I didn't tell anybody at the factory, obviously, because that's one-way ticket to being beaten up at the back by a load of Portuguese fellas. But wearing tights, perfectly fine. I ain't got no problem with it. I wear dresses, I wear tights sometimes. It's not a sexual thing. It just happens that way sometimes. So, yeah, I enjoyed that. That was a good time in my life, so say. Yes, that's not on the script, that bit. Obviously, it's there, but it's not there. It shouldn't really be there, but it is there now. So anyway, now quick promo for our friends at the Monday Movie Show, and then I'm going to get on to another promo, and then we're going to talk about some ice cream. So stay tuned, because there will be ice cream.
Do you like films? Then tune in to the Monday Movie Show live on Spreaker.com every Monday at 7:30. Each week, your hosts Stuart and Andy review the latest cinema and home releases, as well as going over the latest movie news and the box office / Blu-ray and DVD top 10. For more information, visit the site www.mondaymovieshow.co.uk or follow us on Twitter at Monday Movie Show. And don't forget to download the podcast on iTunes. Just search for the Monday Movie Show.
So there you go. Yes, do go and search them out. They are very good. So now, ice cream. I promised you ice cream, and here comes the ice cream. Why is it? And actually, this fits in quite nicely with a discussion that Lolocaust decided to run off with on the right-hand side of my screen in the chat site. He was saying about why there are not very many pudding-related websites, or at least if there are, he hadn't been to one, so he's now trying to search one. He's found one, christmaspuddingrace.org.uk, which I think I know what that is. I'll have a look at it later, but I'm pretty sure I know what that is. So, yeah, my discussion point for today is, why are there not a lot of retro articles about ice creams? You get a lot about sweets. So, like, oh, do you remember when Skittles were proper Skittles and they weren't Starburst Skittles? Do you remember when Snickers were a marathon? Do you remember when wagon wheels were bigger? Do you remember when you could get Star Bars and Spanglers and all that kind of stuff? Get a lot of that. I haven't seen a discussion on the internet about why can't I buy a proper Zoom lolly with the yellow bit, the purple bit and the red bit. You just don't see it. Why do you not see, oh, do you remember those ones that were like a foot? And I'll tell you why. I think it is. There are a lot of people that are making knockoff versions of classic ice creams. I went into, Opal Fruits, Skittles, yeah. I'm getting confused now. I've got Steve and Lelujo, who I'll get to in a minute. I'm going to tear them a fucking new one in a minute. But, so there's all these, like, you go to Asda and you could buy a Freaky Foot, which is not the same as the one you had before. It doesn't taste the same. It's not got all the stuff that was unhealthy and therefore outlawed later on. So retro ice creams. What was your favourite retro ice cream and why? You know, why was it favourite? What was it about it you liked? Was it the fact they used to put jokes on there instead of web addresses? Because I used to like that. A bit of light reading after you'd finished an ice cream. Not a bad thing at all. So, yeah. Tell me what you think. At some point. At some time. Whenever. Ice creams. I might set up a retro ice cream website. lollystick.co.uk. Joke on a lollystick.co.uk. Look out for that at Christmas. So, last little bit of promo, and then we'll wrap things up. I'm almost contractually obliged to mention Lelujo and Steve. This is Kev and Steve. Steve isn't his real name. His real name is actually Alex. And they used to have a podcast I listened to where they went around places and tried to blag free food in exchange for, because of the fact they were on the internet. And it worked a lot of times. Sometimes they had to pay. They went to pubs and rated beer. They went to sausage shops and kind of had sausages. And yeah, it was all right. Sometimes they'd go up big tower things. Sometimes they'd run around for charity. But it was nice to listen to. So yeah, listen to that. That was all very good. Then they kind of went off to do something else, and then they ended up in with the Mature Gamer website, and they did wonderful things at the Mature Gamer website, namely raising its profile, getting a podcast out that had massive kind of popularity, and introducing new members to their forum. Unfortunately, they didn't reckon upon the fact that everybody knows who's ever worked for somebody that owns their own website. Here we go. They don't like it when you're better than they are. They don't like it when you bring new people in and it breaks the dynamic. And so as a result, they split off. They carried on doing their thing. They're now kind of sitting astride the iTunes new and noteworthy section of games. It's very, very good. It's the Mature Gamer podcast, and it's very well worth a listen. They have a website and a forum. Obviously, don't necessarily go to the website because I've got my own website to pimp here. But their forum, we don't have a forum. Go over there, have a good chat. If you want to read some of the stuff, they have got some good stuff. There's a great thing on there about that Alex went to a zombie kind of survival thing. That's a very good read. Do go and read that and get involved. So there you go. You know, I owed them a bit of a blog, and I've given them a bit of a plug. Not the plug they wanted, I don't think, but I couldn't get to Ann Summers today to buy them one. So there you go. That's Monday Movie Show, the Gamescast, and the Mature Gamer Podcast, all plugged in less than 25 minutes. And I haven't really managed to do a proper show. So I've barely got time left to discuss some of the other things on my list. I've got, written up here, it's Stalking Awareness Day today. Stalking Awareness Day. Yeah, I'm aware of stalking. My stalker's not very good at it, but he does follow me on Twitter. There you go. That could be a lolly stick joke. I'll put that on my website when I start it up. And also, today is the day that CFAX finally went off the air. And a lot of people on Twitter have been turning it into a bit of a joke, discussing their best thing that they loved on CFAX. And most of them were talking about Bamboozled, which I was convinced was on Channel 4, which makes it teletext and not CFAX at all. But it was, for many people growing up in the 80s and 90s, it was essentially the internet via your television. It was cracking thing. You just basically, if you're, say you're a 18-year-old or under, you shouldn't be listening, 18-year-old or under, you look at a remote control and it's got a red button, a green button, a yellow button and a blue button. You don't know what that's for. That was for teletext. That was like the shortcuts. That was the bookmark bar. That was your app launching button. It was great. And yeah, it's kind of, we all hold it fondly in our hearts. We used to joke about it. Peter Kay kind of ripped it off and did that thing about holidays on CFAX. But actually, you could get everything. It was news, it was sport, it was weather, it was entertainment. This Bamboozle thing people are talking about, it was great. It was basically a quiz show hosted by a bloke called Bambaboozler, who was just like everything was made as well out of like pixels. It had to be made at, like, it looked like an old game. It was just brilliant. And you'd answer questions, and if you got it right, you go on to the next question. If you got it wrong, then you get a little sad face, and sometimes you have to go back to like the start of that little collection, and sometimes you continue. And so you've got Biffo as well, obviously, a very famous person that came out of internet stuff. So yeah, it's a sad day. I haven't used it for well over a decade, but even so, it's like, when you had that uncle that when you were younger, you go to his house and he'd always give you brandy snaps in exchange for keeping quiet to your nan. Well, it'd be like you hadn't seen him for years, but he died, and you think, actually, it was kind of nice, all those days sitting on his knee having a brandy snack, and not telling Nan about it. So yeah, that's kind of, for me, that's what CFAX was. It was the kind of pervy old uncle that you didn't really see, but you miss anyway. So goodbye to CFAX. We'll have 5 seconds silence in your honour. Here we go. There you go. See, 5 seconds silence on a radio show. That's bravery. But then again, it's probably better than any of the stuff I was talking about. So, we've got Nerf Derma on the chat here saying about Digitizer. That was the one I was trying to remember. That was stuff that dealt with games and things. That was very good. So, yeah, if we were on the internet, we would be... If we weren't on the internet and it was the early 80s, then, late 80s, we would be on CFAX, and we'd be as factually inaccurate as we are. So, with that, I've got a timer counted down. I've got just over a minute to say goodbye to you all. Goodbye to Nerf. Goodbye to Lulu Joe, or Kev. Goodbye to Steve, or Alex, as he should be called. Goodbye to Rob. Goodbye to somebody else who said early on. Who was it? It was James. Goodbye to James as well. And goodbye to anybody else who's listening out there who hasn't signed into the chat, but it may be following me on Twitter and saying hello. It has been a bit of a rough around the edges show. My voice has been breaking. I've got a fever. And it can't be fixed with cowbell, to use an age-old adage. So thank you very much for joining in. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Next week, we'll be talking about board games. So if you've got a thought about board games from the 80s, so this is stuff like Hero Quest or Lost Valley the Dinosaur, stuff like that, do keep it in mind, because I'm going to be asking you questions at the end. So goodbye, everybody, and thank you from the Lolocaust.
Bouncy gave a big yawn and settled down to sleep. And of course, when Bouncy goes to sleep, all his friends go to sleep too. Nerf Derma and Scarred Star were just a pair of old bad trolls. Dalek Sex went back to playing with his organ, and even Bouncy himself was just an old cloth twat, baggy and a bit loose at the seams. But Emily loved him.